Do you know what one of the most searched questions about Russians is? Why do Russians not smile? Is it impolite to smile in Russia? Why do Russian people never ever smile at you? I'm here to dissect it and to give you a Russian person's perspective on that very important, significant, and very controversial question. So, to give you an initial, some sort of answer to one of those questions, it's definitely not impolite to smile in Russia. It's just not as normal to do to strangers or to people you don't know that well, and in daily situations like in a supermarket or, I don't know, the petrol station. It's not quite as normal to just smile. But there are a lot of caveats to that, and I'm gonna talk about those now. Firstly, the not smiling is not a rule, it's just not a habit a lot of Russian people have when it comes to interacting with strangers. And if someone comes up to you and they're all smiley and friendly, if I completely revert to my Russianness and my Russian upbringing, I would be a bit suspicious and I would have the question in my mind of, what does that person want from me? And what kind of scam is this? But even that aside, in daily situations, when you go to a grocery shop, when you talk to the staff on the underground or in any sort of public transport, a lot of those situations have a very functional and practical feeling to them. So if you're not getting to the point, that can be a bit annoying to a Russian person. I feel I'm not speaking for every Russian person whatsoever. I'm speaking from my own perspective and what I feel is the general vibe. So moving on from that point, what I really want to stress is that for Russians, I have a feeling that smiling for the sake of politeness is not quite a thing. Or in other words, the empty and surface level kind of smiling, maybe it's not considered as genuine. And I think a lot of Russian people would prefer to be direct and straightforward as opposed to put on a facade of a smiley person when that's not quite their honest feeling at the moment. I think Russia is quite reserved on the surface, but that's my next point. It is still very warm on the inside. And I'm gonna talk a bit about what I mean by that. I think when people ask, why don't Russian people smile? What they kind of mean by that, or what they are actually asking is, one, whether it's polite or not, that we got out of the way, but also the essence of that question is, are Russian people absolutely cold-hearted and hate other humans? And that, I can assure you, is not the case. A lot of the time, the lack of small talk, the lack of surface level friendliness, and the fake politeness, as some would call it, can come across as the whole person being cold, whole person being reserved and very distanced from other humans and perhaps not as warm-hearted generally. But what I would say is that in a lot of cases, Russian people are very warm-hearted on the inside. It just takes a while to get to know them and to get to the level of friendship where they show that to you, because that's when it becomes genuine on their side. As we already established, the surface level politeness is not as much of a thing. So to be able to get to the actual friendliness and the hospitality, which is a huge thing in Russia, Russian people, I think, are very hospitable and they make you feel very welcome and at home and very cozy. But that all comes with getting through to someone, which might be the point where some people kind of give up. But I would just really suggest not to be discouraged by that. I think it's just a cultural quirk to not be small talking with strangers, not to be smiling much at strangers. And again, there are so many exceptions to the rule, so while a lot of people ask this, all stereotypes are kind of based on maybe a popular experience that happened, but it might either not be as relevant now, or there might be a lot of cases where it doesn't apply. And I think the smiling thing is very much one of those cases where there'll be so many exceptions and a lot of people will meet smiley Russians, feel welcome from the start, feel friendly from the start. So don't take this stereotype as the truth, but in case you were wondering about this, in case you encountered it yourself, maybe when you visited or when you met some Russians elsewhere. I hope this kind of gives you an overview when it comes to smiling, when it comes to strangers. And I would just encourage you, get to know your Russian, get through to them. And once you get to a friendship level, a genuine friendship level, I think you might be a bit surprised at the warmth that is there. It just takes a bit of time. And that's probably the case for a lot of people, regardless of nationality. But that's all I wanted to share today. I hope that was somewhat interesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.